Hello, everyone. I'm Stacy Ellis. I'm a registered dietitian and currently a doctoral candidate at Texas Women's University. And I am currently in a series talking about the PhD process and graduate school tips and just discussing different aspects along the process. Today, I'm going to talk about how to pick a graduate school, how to pick one that is right for you. And in particular, I'm going to talk about my experience and how I decided to go to Texas Women's University for my PhD program. Before I get into how I picked Texas Women's for my PhD, I want to talk about how I even got to this point to even be at Texas Women's in the first place. So I previously was a high school teacher, and I decided that I wanted to go back to school. And, I was already in my career. I was already working. I was making money. And so I had to pick a school that I knew would be economic for me because, we were having a 2 household income coming in and we were about to go to 1 household income. And so I needed to find a cheap university that will meet my needs. I also was interested in possibly going to seminary in the future. So, I knew that I needed to get a bachelor's degree in nutrition to become a dietitian. But then I also thought to myself that one day I would want to go to seminary and go into ministry. And the seminary that I was interested in was in Dallas Theological Seminary. And so because I knew I was interested in going to that seminary, I decided to look in the Dallas Metroplex for my post-bac. And so I looked at Texas Christian University. They have a nutrition dietetic program. And I looked at Texas Women's University. And so Texas Women's University was much cheaper. So that's why I picked them. So that's what brought me actually to the DFW area. It was primarily because of the simple fact that I wanted to go to seminary one day. And so I was like, well, I might as well just be in the town already. So it'll be an easy transition. Well, with the internship process, or to get an internship, you have to apply to different internships. And so my first number one pick was Texas Women's University because still, I had in mind to stay in the Metroplex. Now, I was open to going to other places because it's very competitive to get into a dietetic internship. The majority of my class did not match for an internship. And so I did apply to other places. So I pretty much applied to anywhere that I felt like I had a chance and that I felt comfortable. And so that was within Texas. I applied in Houston, San Antonio, Texas Tech, like all over the place. I applied to like 9 different programs for the internship. And then you get to rank them in order of which you would prefer. And I kept Texas Women's as my number one choice, of course. Well, I got lucky and I got matched for Texas Women's. And so the Texas Women's program, dietetic internship, includes a master's program. So automatic, because I got matched to Texas Women's University, I stayed and did my master's degree at Texas Women's University. So I didn't actually look into, I did look at the other programs when I was applying other places, but not in as much depth. It was all based on location. It wasn't really anything substantial. That's not necessarily what I would recommend for people. Like I said, the main purpose of me moving to Dallas was because I had the intentions of going to seminary. Well, mind you, I did not go to seminary. And currently, I don't actually have the desire to go to seminary anymore. So I did not use the right basis for picking a location for a university. I got lucky, though, with the university that I went to because it ended up being a very good nutrition program. But But if I were to, let's say, there was another town that had a seminary, I might have not been so lucky. So I feel blessed. I feel that God actually intervened and made me want to go to seminary in Dallas so that way I could pick Texas Women's University because I was not thinking appropriately at the time. But with that, I learned my lesson. I learned that, you don't want to just pick a place just because it's at a location that you want to be at. You want to pick a place where you will be able to grow in your knowledge and skill set. And so I took that in mind with picking my PhD program. So these are the things that I did to help pick which school that I wanted to go to for my PhD program. First and foremost, I looked at what was it that I was trying to study. So I was very interested in obviously nutrition, but also in sports nutrition. So at Texas Women's University, they actually have a master's program in exercise and sports nutrition. I did not get that master's degree, in part because they have a practicum where it's like an internship, and I had already did a dietetic internship, and I did not feel like doing another internship. So I did not apply because I just did not, I did not want to do another internship because I just did one. So I did not apply to the ESN, and I just got a nutrition degree. But I knew that they had the sports nutrition, and it was actually a top rating sports nutrition program in the nation. So that's first and foremost. You want to look into who has the types of programs you want. Now, granted, they don't have a sports nutrition PhD program, but that didn't matter, which I will explain to you here in a little bit. So just look and see, okay, where do they have a strong department of the, whatever it is that you're looking into. Maybe you're into clinical nutrition. Maybe you're into forensics. Whatever the case may be, look into the top schools in those areas. Now, I also looked in other programs that are just strong in nutrition background in general. So some of the universities I looked at was like Texas A&M and UT Austin, for instance. They have a strong nutrition program in doctoral level. After looking at that, you want to also look at their degree plan for whatever program that you are getting into. What classes are they asking you to take? So I looked at each university at what classes they had to offer, what classes they were requiring me to take. And I also looked at the electives. What is it that I could take that was, whatever I wanted to choose. And so for me, after I looked at all three universities, Texas Women's University had way more options of classes that fit what I was interested in. They had sports nutrition classes, several, not just one. They had functional foods, women's health, there's a ton of different classes they offered that I was very interested in. Compared that to the other universities, the focus was not the same. And so for me, after looking at all the classes that are offered, it just made sense for me to pick Texas Women's University. Now you can see what classes are offered easily. You can just look at the graduate catalog. They tend to have all the classes listed, and that's what I did. I looked for each university at the different classes that are offered. Now, that is if you are really wanting to learn, if the classes really matter to you. For some of you, you may want to pick your PhD program based off of your research interests. So it's very common to look for a research program under a particular faculty member that has a research area that's similar to what you're interested in. For instance, I know in the kinesiology department right now, there's two grad students that came to Texas Women's University because of one particular professor that was doing research. So it's very common to do that. So if you are very much interested in a particular research topic, then what I suggest you do is go and look at each department that you're looking into and look at the faculty. Within each department or the website, they may have on the website their CV listed. On the CV, they'll have all the publications that they have done, so you can see what type of research they're interested in. Now, when you look at these research articles, you need to keep in mind that some of these may be other students' theses and dissertations. So you do need to keep that in mind when you're looking at it, because not all of those topics are going to be exactly what the professor is interested in. Now, they may have a website where they describe what their research interests are. I know at my university they did that. They had every faculty member and they wrote out what their research interest is. But even if that is the case, you still want to look at what they have published and what they are working on, because there's been cases where it'll state one thing on there, but then they might actually be doing research in other areas because they've broadened their scope of what they're looking at to other areas. I know that's the case at my university. A lot of the professors are looking at other things now that aren't just, what was listed on the website. So keep that in mind too. You may want to go and visit the university and see about, speaking with the professors there, looking into, speaking with some of the grad students and asking, what is it like working with, this particular professor? Really get some insight on there. Because what you don't want to do is end up applying to a school just for a particular professor, and then you find out that you're going to bump heads and you can't get along, and it just wasn't a good fit. Another thing to keep in mind too, a lot of times professors may not stay at that university. They may retire or they may decide to go to another location. So if you are basing your pick based off of just the professor, you have to keep in mind that that can always change, that the professor may not always be there to be your mentor. And so you want to weigh in still the program as a whole. You still want to look at the classes they offer. You want to look at just overall how the program is. For me, I knew my research interest was not an interest of hardly anyone. But I also knew mine was based off of sports nutrition. And so that also helped me in my decision at staying at Texas Women's, since they had a very strong sports nutrition background. It just made it so much easier for me. So even though I didn't have a professor that was really interested in dance nutrition, I had professors that were interested in sports nutrition that I could talk to and get, insight with. So keep that in mind as well. What departments do they have? What degrees do they offer? Even if it's a master level degree, that does show that there are professors that are in that particular area, and that can help you, whenever you're doing your research. Another thing you do want to take into account as well is the city as a whole. You're going to be living there for however many years, 4 to 6 years, if not longer. And so you want to be somewhere where you're going to feel comfortable. I was looking into postdoc programs, and there are some that I just know I'm not going to enjoy because it's too cold for me. So you do want to keep that into account. You want to keep into account, like, if you're going to commute, if there are, the atmosphere, do you have chances of making good friends, there. All these things matter. There are little things, but it really does matter. What is your support system there? Think about all these things. Okay, so for me, I picked Texas Women's University because, like I said, the classes they offered, I felt like there was so much more I wanted to learn. And Texas Women's University had all those classes I was interested in. And so that motivated me. Also, the fact that they had a good sports nutrition program motivated me. Compared that to A&M, they're very much into the food sciences. UT, I did not see, I know that there's people who do sports nutrition, but Texas Women's is just something about Texas Women's. I'm telling you. So look into all of those things for yourself, whatever it is that you are looking into doing, and pick the program that will fit your needs the best. So with that is all I have for you guys today. If this video has been helpful to you, make sure you give it a thumbs up so that way other people can learn this information and be able to, pick the right grad school for themselves. Also, make sure you subscribe to my channel, as I am going to have a few more videos on this topic on grad school and the PhD process. I have a few more videos left. And then after this, I'm going to enter a new series about the dietetic process as well, because I know a lot of people have questions on that also. So, all right. If you have any other questions or comments regarding the PhD or graduate school process that you wish for me to answer, make sure you leave those comments below. And you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.